Welcome to the Honest TV podcast, with a podcast for health professionals and the wider community, looking to explore diversities in health, ask some hard questions, and have some honest conversations. My name is Archie. I'm an EP based on Sydney's Northern Beaches, and joining me as always is Adelaide health business owner Andrew. Andrew, how are you?
Good, you?
Very good. As opposed to sitting across the table from each other, we are sitting next to each other on a Zoom with Meredith Woolsey from Adelaide. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is our pleasure. It is our honor to have you on here today.
Everyone is very honored. Yes.
Everybody is it's a very honorable situation we have here today. But we've been talking over messages, and we've also randomly crossed paths on another Zoom meeting that was for students through ESSA.
Yeah, the student symposium that ESSA ran. We were both some of the people who imparted our wisdom.
Yes, so much
next
wisdom.
Generation.
So we are solely responsible for the wisdom that those young student EPs had, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry in advance to everyone who hired them.
That was great. But we're very happy to have you on. You are an EP and a director from Move to Live Ex Phys in Adelaide. Where in Adelaide? What suburb are you in?
We are in the southern suburbs of Adelaide. So Adelaide is very long because on one side we've got beach and on other sides we've got hills. So we're down quite south towards the end of Metro in Port Noarlunga South. On Ghana land is where we are on the plains. So
awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Andrew, have you been to Adelaide?
No, I don't think I have. Have you?
I have. I've been twice, both in the last year, and both times were awesome. We have some friends who live in Glenelg. And the first thing I couldn't believe, wait, Meredith, did you grow up in Adelaide?
Yeah, born and bred.
Yeah, okay. The first thing I couldn't believe is that we were staying on the beach and we got out the west, out the backside of Adelaide. No, out the east, out the back over the hills in like 20 minutes. So we crossed the entirety of Adelaide in 20 minutes. Yeah. And it was amazing.
It's not so short north to south, though. That's a bit of a trek.
No, that's a little longer.
But east to west is pretty quick.
I can't even leave DY sometimes in 20 minutes. It's ridiculous. I went to get these ciders that we're drinking today, and it took me like a 30-minute round trip to go maybe 10 blocks to get these bloody ciders. Unbelievable. But Meredith, you recommended some ciders to us. So what are we drinking?
So we're drinking a Bilpin cider. So you guys have gotten the alcoholic version and I've got the non-alcoholic version. Hopefully you like them. If not, that's going to be really awkward. Please don't end the podcast early.
We have had a lot of things that we don't like on the podcast and have finished every episode.
Yeah.
0 ended episodes.
Yeah. So these guys are from the Blue Mountains. And so my partner and I went for a holiday there a few years ago, and they were just everywhere at the local pub, and which was very exciting because I don't drink. And so I'm always very sad at the pub because I tend to be offered the options that a 4-year-old is offered as well. And so it was lovely to have actual options. So
yeah. It's good. This could be like the nicest apple juice, but alcoholic that I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
How's your apple juice? Minus the alcohol.
My sparkling apple juice, which is basically what non-alcoholic cider is delicious. Thank you. It's very nice.
Great recommendation. Well, Meredith, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've become this point, or how you've gotten to this point in your EP career?
Sure. Thank you. So I was not going to be an EP when I started. I was actually going to be an astronaut. Nerd. So I went to space camp in America and everything. It's like a summer camp for nerds. It was like the Saturn V rocket was just there. Did like space missions, like underwater in an underwater training pool. Yeah.
This sounds excellent.
It was so cool. Such a nerd. So that was really good. And then I discovered I'm absolutely atrocious at maths. Particularly calculus. So it's a good thing I'm an EP because I only have to count to 15. So discovered I was really crappy at that. And got glandular fever as well, which really affected my brain, which is partly why I don't drink, because it's I go very loopy when I drink. And so failed out of uni. I was doing biomedical science to do go and be a space nerd and do experiments in space, and then did a diploma in fitness at TAFE, looking to get into outdoor education. And that's where I discovered what an EP was, because we had an EP come to talk to us about when we should on refer. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. So that's how I found out about it. And then I went and did another 4 years at uni, and then popped out the other side. So it was 8 years in total that went the long way round. So yeah, so that's my EP journey. And then I moved to live not very long after I was an EP, just due to necessity, really. And a place I was working for was like, oh, I don't really want to run this anymore. Do you want it? I was like, no. So the name changed and lots of things changed about it, but that was when I started. So, and we've been in this location, which is where I really started from, for 8 and nearly a half years. And for 6 of those years, it was just me, one woman show, doing everything. And now I have a lovely 2IC, Ash, who's an excellent EP. Hired her 2 years ago as a new grad. I have an admin person part-time, and I just hired 2 new grads this year, which was not the plan, but I interviewed both of them and they were both so good that I avoided making a decision by just hiring both of them. So yeah, that's where we're at, basically.
That's amazing. That's incredible. So like, that's incredible growth in the last couple of years to bring on that many team members in the last, what, 2 years?
My shit together a little bit. I was actually very fortunate in COVID. COVID was very good to us. I qualified for JobKeeper because everyone stopped, but then everyone realized that you still have MS when you are in a pandemic, or you still have arthritis. And so they all came back, and a lot of our local places shut down because they were too big, or they worked out of gyms. So I got a lot of calls from NDIS and Return to Work for, oh my God, are you open? Are you taking people? I'm like, yes. And then, and then I was drowning, so I had to hire someone. So,
wow.
Yeah, I am a rare and quite guilt-laden good news story out of COVID. It really helped the business, actually. I get a bit of survivor guilt about that, but yeah.
I mean,
so it was good.
Yeah, I feel like wife. I mean, I can only talk about from an employee's point of view, but out the back of COVID felt like a really big hit of growth. Did you experience that as well?
We grew during COVID. I couldn't tell you the exact numbers on that, but I what you said there, Meredith, like really resonated with what happened with us. Like we shut, and then very quickly we reopened again, and the few connections that we had were like just exploded, because people were like, yep, we can still help people. And people wanted to come in, and the facilities that were the bigger ones all shut down. And so people just came knocking on our door, and then they didn't go away. And the connections that we developed during that time have sort of carried on from then. So yeah, that story sounds pretty similar.
Oh, there you go. Because I haven't heard many people who have had that sort of story. So there you go. I did not know that about your business. So that works well.
Survivor guilt's an interesting feeling out of COVID. Do you get survivor guilt?
I wouldn't call it guilt. Not my experience anyway. But it's something. It's I can't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah, guilt is maybe too strong a word. Right in the thick of it, when places were like really shutting down and it was a whole thing, then I felt pretty crap about it. But yeah, not quite guilt. I'm pretty grateful, to be honest. Obviously not grateful for COVID because it's
survivor gratefulness.
Survivor gratefulness. But I'm very grateful that the chips fell very positively for myself, which was a big turning point, because at the time I was living out of my mum's spare room because I'd gone through a marriage breakup and stuff like that. So like it was a tough time. So having at least this part of my life end up expanding in a really positive way was like a really nice outcome of that. So yes, much better.
I don't feel like you have anything to be guilty about, Meredith.
Yes. Excellent. Permission to give myself
But-
permission to not feel guilty.
But also, like, it's and don't take this the wrong way. Like, it's not even all about you here. Like, you were open for the community,
Yes.
and the community needed an EP and like a place to go for healthcare, and you were open and available. And I feel like people rushing through the doors of Move to Live or Rebound is more of a sign of them valuing the service at the time. And being grateful that, like, oh my God, thank God there's something open that I can go to and do exercise and talk to another person. It's like, wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like I felt almost guilty or awkward going to work when none of my friends could go to work. Like we'd get to the weekend and we'd be, I don't know, like playing PlayStation or something stupid that mid 20-year-olds do during COVID. And it's like, oh, how's everyone's week's been? It's like, yeah, well, I've been sitting in this same chair for the last 40 hours, of the week because I work here, and now I watch movies here, and I play PlayStation here, and I spend my weekend here. I was like, God, that sucks. I've been just going to work like normal and talking to people, seeing clients. And it felt like I was almost breaking the law by leaving the house and just going to work and seeing people. It's like, oh God, am I going to get, well, I know I wasn't going to get in trouble, but it felt like my experience was very normal as an EP, which I don't think was particularly common.
No, I imagine not, because you're right. Like, so many people were stuck at home or lost their jobs, and then you have the other end of healthcare where it was bananas frontline. Excuse me, while I wear 20 layers of PPE all day, every day, and put my life on the line when we don't know what the hell's happening. Like,
fuck that.
Yeah. So right. I'm like, nope. Thank you to anyone who's listening who is a frontline worker, but oh God, no, super okay in my allied health bubble of somewhere in the middle.
Did you have to wear extreme amounts of PPE at any point?
Yeah, here we had to wear N95 masks. I am actually one of the meanies. I still make my clients wear masks in the clinic.
Wow.
Yeah, so my staff, they can choose what type of mask they wear. I like the N95. I have.
You like the N95?
Well, mine's nice.
Do your ears have nerve endings?
No, so.
Oh my God.
Mine go over the back of my head. No, mine go like this.
So they go above the head and on the neck. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
One of the duckbill ones.
Yeah. Gotcha. So I'm Meriduck, which is just good. So I let my staff wear whatever they want now in terms of the mask. I just like that one. But yeah, my clients, unless they have sensory issues or lung issues, we still get them to wear masks. But we are yet to have a COVID outbreak in the clinic, and I didn't get it for 3.5 years. So I'm kind of okay with it. And at the moment here in South Australia, we're back to breaking point in the healthcare system because we've got the flu and RSV and COVID is everywhere again. And so I'm like, no, we'll keep it like that. Yeah, which I know is not what most places have done. But I think for a lot of our clients, it helps them to feel safe because they don't actually feel safe anywhere else. Yeah, I don't wear one in the pool though when I'm doing hydro. That's a bit much.
Just waterboard yourself. Yeah.
Ironically, I am 99% sure that's where I got COVID from. The one time that I got COVID was the pool, and I'm like, right, well, there you go. Proof is in the pudding. So
I imagine you've kind of attracted clients who like the safety or the feeling of good hygiene in the clinic gym then.
Yeah, I think so. That we have some clients who, like we have ViraClean that we clean everything with and stuff like that. But some of them will like clean or request to have it cleaned like before they touch stuff as well, because they're just really in that really vulnerable position. Whereas I don't think they would go to your average gym or even just another EP clinic where there were, lots of, we're also quite physically small. So our group classes are like a maximum of 6 people plus us, because we just don't have room in the gym. So I think if they were in a bigger chain sort of place that was more that gym environment and it was like 20 people, they would just be like, nah, can't cope with it at all.
Yeah. I wonder how people run an inverted commas EP group classes with 20 people.
also wonder that question, Archie.
At that point, like we're not able to keep an eye on people's conditions or their symptoms or modify people's exercises or have any kind of meaningful relationship while running a structured group class, unless we're doing like fucking heel toe walking and calf raises and marching on the spot and that's it. Like,
or chair based. Everyone's in a
circle. Everyone sit down and
other.
stay still. Nobody move.
Nobody move. Oh God.
I'm worried about you. Yeah. Like at the moment, our classes are sitting at like kind of max of 8 people. Okay. And there's talk like we may move that to 10 people, and already 10 feels like a lot. So I can't even imagine what like 20 would be in our setting.
Yeah, no, I don't know, because I don't know how you guys have it, but everyone has an individual program and they just happen to be doing it at the same time. Is how we have our group classes done. We don't have like a cancer class and a diabetes class and a whatever. I've just got everyone all shoved in together. Which I think is actually really good for the clients, because I think it's good for them to see some people that are doing a heavier weight than them and some people who are not as good as them, and seeing other people progress and or other people's conditions deteriorate. Like I actually think it's really good for them to see that there's a variety, and I think it's really helpful for them rather than all being in one blob. But yeah, that's how we run it, that they all have their own program and then we just run around like headless chooks and make sure that they're, as my mother would say, to make sure that no one's wrecking themselves. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. And have you always done it that way, or have you moved to that because you like it that way?
No, I've always done it that way. I suppose where I used to work, it was done that way, but I just like it because then you get the individuality rather than, pardon me, sorry, the bubble is in my cider. You get the individuality, and I suppose now we probably would have enough people that we could divide into like condition specific classes, but like I never had enough before. And I really want it to be that if I get hit by a bus or if a pandemic happens, that they're probably going to be okay. Like I want them to be able to take their sheet and go somewhere else or go to the gym or do it at home. And that did happen in COVID because we couldn't do group class here. And so they all got the offer of, would you like a home program? And we then lost some clients in a good way because they realized that they were really diligent people and that they did it at home. And they were like, well, I don't need to come and pay you $18 to come and do your group class. And I'm like, nah, call me if you need me. Bye.
Yeah.
So, I think I like that independence and them taking responsibility for it a little bit themselves and having that autonomy. And then we're just there to like move the needle when needed and answer questions and be like, good God, Andrew, what are you doing over there? You know, like from across the gym. Yeah. That's not how I told you to do that. So that sort of stuff.
And I guess when you're in a space where people are quite close to each other, then it kind of encourages communication, chatting and bantering, that kind of stuff as well, right? So then you don't have people hiding themselves in the corner and not talking to anyone.
Yeah, we do have some people who come in and have like their earphones in and you know, they like prefer the no sense, like a reduced sensory or a reduced just human sort of thing. But they come because maybe it's a more accessible price point for the group class and stuff like that. But mostly as soon as someone's not there, they're all like, oh my God, where's Archie? Is he okay? I'm like, he's fine, calm down, he's got a cold, like everyone breathe. So and they all talk to each other and they all, it's really cute. They're all friends. It's really adorable.
That's nice. That makes like a really nice community gym kind of aspect.
It is, that's what I really like. They're the group classes are not, as I'm sure, well, I don't know what your guys' pricing is, but I'm sure you will potentially attest to, Andrew, they are not the most financially viable section.
That is correct.
Yes, of my business. But they are certainly the beating heart of the business. I couldn't even imagine not doing them because that's where all the people that love Move to Live the most are.
Question, why is that, business owners? Why Andrew, I'll start with you. Why are group classes, generally speaking, not super financially viable?
Oh, there's a numbers answer to that, which is obviously, you know, you mentioned lower price point, higher cancellation rate, higher rebooking rate, higher churn. So The thing about group classes is, depending on the way that you run them, people could perceive that they're not receiving an EP treatment, they're receiving a fitness treatment. And so what they would do is go, oh, look, instead of paying $20 a class to see you, I could go and get an Anytime Fitness membership for $20 a week and like get better bang for buck. Because in my mind, I could go there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So like that's not all group classes, I know that. But the perception can be, well, if I'm just coming in and I'm just doing a bunch of random exercises once a week, I could go and do that at a gym. So people leave sooner.
Okay, so retention is generally lower. Okay, all right. So is that...
Or they stay for forever.
Yeah.
Right? And they will come 3 times a week until the day they die. They are, the people that stay.
Yeah.
One or the other.
So I guess that's one factor then. What would be some of the other factors? Because this is kind of new information to a lot of people, I imagine. Who don't see the numbers side of things all the time.
So again, like a very numbers focused answer to that question.
That's what people want to hear. They want to hear the numbers stuff because they all they see is group classes are great because, engagement and friendship and community, and, it's a little bit cheaper for them. So it's great. And if, 6 to 8 people come to class, then it's all amazing. So why wouldn't it be?
Again, like a numbers answer to that question.
Numbers answer is good.
Now I don't believe this, right?
Oh, okay.
Lots of pre-framing here. But I could see one NDIS client for 1 hour and earn $167, or I could have 4 people in a group class and earn 80. Why would I choose the second option? Now, I don't believe that, right? Because I absolutely believe, and we run a whole bunch of group classes here because it's a great way for people to achieve goals and have like you mentioned before, Meredith, a more reasonable price point to access EP services. I think that's a really important community-based reason to run them. But if we were making that decision purely on money, like per hour, I could earn more seeing a one-on-one person.
Yeah, and it's all well and good to say, oh yeah, I can put 6 or 8 people in there. Like when I extrapolate out 6 people, like, it's pretty good value. It works well. I need especially like really numbers when I have one of my casual new grads who is doing a late group class. So it is $43 an hour to pay them because it classes as shift work. 2 people in the class will not cover the wage. Bugger the lights, the internet, the cost of the tyro, anything else. I need 3 people just to pay my staff member for that 1 hour that they're there because they're there late, because I want to provide things for people who work, things for people who are caring for children and then can come after their partner gets home or whatever it happens to be. But to do that, I then have to have it big enough or have enough leftover money somewhere else to prop it up, because I think it's an important service, even if only 3 people turn up. I
guess
so
you can only,
that it's hard because, like I could see it in your face, Andrew, when you were saying it. You're like, I hate thinking about it this way. And using my lovely motivational interviewing, and I need to be able to pay my staff. Like if I can't pay my staff, if I can't pay the rent, I can't help anyone. And that is certainly, so I still struggle with that real juxtaposition between business and healthcare. Because really, I just love some great big spaghetti monster in the sky to pay me a living wage and I provide free healthcare. Like that's what I want. Like I think I'm a socialist at heart. But unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society and I have to work within that framework. So we do have to think about it from a viability point of view.
And you can only have so many hours, billable hours, where you are not making profit.
And in our space, the gym space we only have 1 gym space. So when there's a group class happening, we can't do one-on-ones. We can do a review in one of our consult rooms, but we can't go and do like a private one-on-one because there's not enough room. So, okay, well, we run, including early mornings and evenings, we actually now run 11 group classes a week. That is 11 hours. It's more than a day's worth of gym space is not there. So like, it's a big call to do it like that, but we live in run our business from a very low socioeconomic area. So I also think it's very important to provide that as an option for people for whom the gym isn't an option, or they're like, I'm just not going to do it at home because I'm just not wired that way. And I'm like, that's fine. Here, let us facilitate that for you.
Wow. And I guess there is also value then in being a really positive part of the community that doesn't necessarily reflect in the numbers of the business, but it's important for you in your community to do that.
Yeah. And it's important for me personally to be able to sleep at night, because I don't know about you, Andrew, but I would not have the stress of running a business if it was not aligned with my values, because I could just go work somewhere for a very nice wage, somewhere that is not aligned with my values, but I get to go home and not think about it.
It's very funny because I think if my half-baked memory serves me correctly, in our previous podcast, we were talking about the fact that if I was to make, and you might be the same here, but if I was to make business decisions based on how much revenue per square meter I could generate, we wouldn't have a gym. We would just have consult rooms.
Yeah.
We could bill more for having a bunch of consult rooms rather than gym, but that's not what we want to be doing.
And we'd all be chiropractors.
Yes, we would.
I was about to say, I wouldn't have an EP business.
Yeah.
Because you immediately, NDIS is a perfect example, but here in SA, return to work and motor vehicle accident are the same. You immediately earn $50 an hour more with no GST if you're a physio. So why the bloody hell would I run an EP business?
Yeah. Why? Welcome to the podcast, Meredith. And that's the introduction. Welcome to the OCB podcast. Why am I an EP? Why? This is horrible. Anyway, where
I'll just go back to my Bilpin.
That's why we drink on the podcast. All right, back to the point. While we are
understand now.
While we are drinking podcast. Meredith, I have a question for you, and it was based on you building your team, which you mentioned before. And when you went from working independently for 6 years, which is a long time, and I imagine you fall into your routine and your habits of this is how we do things.
Yeah.
When you bring on new people with new perspectives and different views on things that have been to uni in a different, probably a different curriculum by then, what's the change of mindset like for you as now a director, not just an EP?
Like it is there are two very distinct parts. One side, I'll start with the negative. I hated it. I couldn't cope. The fact that there was another, why are you in my space? Why are you here? Oh my God. Why? Like I can't, not that I would have a nervous breakdown every day, but I can't go and just cry under the table if I'm having a really bad day. Because I have to be a competent adult for my staff member, for my 21-year-old beautiful new grad who started, who needed a mentor who was emotionally stable 90% of the time. So the space and having someone in my space was really hard, and just and like training her. I'm always like, please don't leave me. I have no idea what I would do without her. She is amazing. And she would say that she was a slow burn because she had a really rough placement drawer and there were a lot of holes that we had to fill. So that was really hard. And just getting used to it can't all be in my head. It actually has to be a system, and it has to be written down, and it has to be just not flying around up in there. And yeah, so that was really, and letting go, which I had taken on students before specifically to try and prep me for that sort of thing, because I knew that I would really struggle. My mum says to me, I think you need to be the captain of your own ship, Meredith. She always gets angry when I then say, it's because you think I don't play well with others, Mum.
That's a real like classic mum quote, isn't it?
Right. Do you need to be the captain of your own ship, Andrew?
I don't know. Archie's a bit of a captain. I don't think I don't.
Are you the first mate
There-
now?
There
Archie's
was
the
there was a
captain.
there was a point when you released from
Mm.
you did one-on-ones with the whole team,
Mm.
and then
Mhm.
I imagine that would have been the not the most recent, but one that I was around for was when you went from doing one-on-one meetings with every single team member to going, right, maybe I should get Lauren to do who's another EP. Maybe I should get Lauren to do one-on-ones with the EP team now, and
Mm.
I should step back.
Mm.
And I imagine that was well, I don't know what that was like. I'll let you describe what that was like.
It felt guilty.
Mm.
That was guilt.
Mm.
That was like, how on earth could I demonstrate my value if I'm not helping people,
Mm.
helping the team?
Mm.
So that came out as guilt for me.
That
Because you don't
seems
see clients anymore, do you, Andrew? No. So that would have
No
been
more
the
clients.
first bit of that. I'm no longer helping our clients, but I'm helping the staff.
Yeah, I was fine with the client thing. That was easy.
Yeah.
But
I'm not fine with the client thing. I still see clients like
that was because that was an easy letting go because like we could see Archie and we could see Lauren and we could see like people in our team just fucking killing it with clients, like doing way better than I ever could with clients. And I was like, you know what? This is good. I don't need to do this.
Yeah,
But
nice.
the mentoring one was hard because I actually really enjoyed it.
Mm.
But it was like I couldn't do what I needed to do and spend that amount of time doing that job. So it was a reluctant
Yeah.
letting go. It's not that I didn't not want to do it anymore. It's that I needed to put my time elsewhere.
Yeah.
Did it take someone almost telling you that or pointing it out to you to go, oh shit, okay.
My mentor, Pete, probably told me that for 2 years before it actually happened. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I feel like, and I guess everyone feels this at every level, which I guess is the idea that when I go and hand over a client to a new EP starting, I go, oh no, but you know, we've done this for so long together, and I know their programming, I know their background so well, and then the week after you see the new EP doing some crazy game that I never would have thought of, I go, oh wow. Oh, they're putting way more effort into this client that I've been seeing for 4 years. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
My bad.
yeah. Archie, that's so that other part of it that I was gonna say, like that's the positive. Like I really struggled with the letting go. I'm better at it now. Poor Ash, my first hire, got a really rough time of me not coping with letting go, but she was a trooper, which was very sweet. These two are getting a much easier time, but the thing that's so amazing is that I know that they are all going to be better than me because it sounds very egotistical, but because they get to be here and because they get to, I've tried really hard to create the job I wish someone made for me. If someone had made this job for me, I would not run this business because I would not need to, because I created the thing that I wanted. And so I'm like, you will have PD, we will have people come in, you will do this, we will do mentoring, we have our huddle every week. What do you need from me? Let's do support. What do you want to focus on? Great, we'll get you that PD, like whatever it is. Having that, Ash is 2 and a bit years out. She's where I was at 5 years. Right? Like they are going to outstrip me, which there's a tiny part of me where that stings because I'm just like, oh, like because I really like helping people and I really like being good at my job, but 99.9% of me is beyond proud of them and of myself that I get to facilitate that for them and that I get to not be a bad experience boss for them, unlike what I have in the back of my head for that sort of stuff. So that's the amazing part of bringing them on. And very recently, I took leave. I went on long service leave for a month and it ran. They didn't hold the fort. They ran the business.
Right.
hooray. And when I came back, they all had a beautiful story about how they'd helped someone who is one of the, really marginalized clients that really strive to help. So someone who was in a larger body, or someone who was queer, or someone who was neurodivergent, or all of the above. And I suddenly realized that it is no longer me. I don't know if you've had this epiphany, Andrew, you probably have. It's no longer me dragging the culture of the clinic, kicking and screaming down the road. It is now its own. I've decided I call it a sourdough starter. So it's its own little thing, and we just feed it. And yes, I'm still a very important part of the clinic, but it's not just me anymore. And I was like, basically crying in the huddle, because I was just like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you guys. So
It's
yeah.
amazing. But I guess like the job that you get to be really good at now is that bit, is the facilitating them and facilitating the culture. And you have a really good quote about culture, about like when you're not here.
I've stolen this from somewhere. I don't know, but it's one of the definitions that we've used for culture. It's like what actually happens when the director is not in the room.
Yeah.
Because there are some who, put on a smile and a happy face. And then as soon as the person walks out of the room, it's like, bitch, bitch, bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
it's gone. Yeah.
That's the culture. That's the culture, not what you said. Like actually people, your role and our role is just to create other leaders and create amazing EPs. That's our job now. And that's a pretty cool job.
When you went on long service leave, Meredith, how often did you check your emails and your Slack equivalent?
A lot, but mainly because it's motor memory. I don't know if you have that when you open your phone. I'm sad to say it's always Messenger that I accidentally open first, even when I don't mean to. But like Messenger, Instagram, emails, flick, flick, flick. Okay, cool. But I only had to deal with about 6 things.
Okay.
But
in a month.
In a month. However, 2 of those things were my own fault, because I was like, I'm really sorry. Tap, tap, tap. That social media post is not really what I wanted. Tap, tap, tap. Delete. So there were 2 or 3 things that I created as a problem's not quite the right word, but like as a thing to be solved. But the rest of it was just we just need, you're okay for this, or some weird thing happened with Xero, and I was just like, just call the bookkeepers and they'll sort it out. Tell them to email me if they need me to give the okay, that sort of thing. So it was pretty chill, really, which was really nice. Yeah, and especially the 2 new grads started in February and I was gone in April.
Wow.
So very steep learning curve
for
them. And my 2 IC, Ash was away for a week in Brisbane playing for the South Australian mixed netball team.
Wow.
At the national comp. And so it was them and Locum, who was an old placement supervisor of mine who comes in every now and again. That was it for a week.
Wow.
And it was fine. No one died. No one went to hospital. It ran. They did a great job.
What an incredible feeling to come back to a non-burnt down clinic where everyone is happy.
Yeah.
I remember my very first experience of that. It was like I went on holidays for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. Felt like an eternity. And we'd hired like a practice manager for the first time a couple of months before I went away. And normally when you come back from a couple of weeks, the to-do list is just like, it's a long to-do list. And I walked in and I'd kind of braced myself for like, fuck, here we go. And Danielle, I went up to Danielle and it's like, right, hit me. What do I need to fix? She's like, nothing. It's all good. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, no, it's all taken care of. Like, oh, really? I might just leave. Then you can run it. But I still remember that. And that was when there was maybe like 4 in the team at that stage. And it like that feeling still sticks with me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Now I know that I still want to be here, but if I can't be here, then it's okay.
Yep.
It will continue. And that is a very privileged, I think privileged is the right word, privileged position to be in, because you built the systems like you were talking about before, right? That investment of time of actually creating a system of consistent service delivery, consistent admin delivery means that you can then start to shape the role, the impact that you want to have.
It's a question for you, Andrew. So your role then is no longer really then like the day-to-day running so much. So, I'm going to ask you a direct question here, but more so because I think it's interesting for people to think about. What do you now see your role as director as your main goals? Oh, I don't like the word goal, but you go for it.
There's 3.
Oh, okay. Thank goodness. Oh, that's wonderful.
Recruitment is 1, retention is 1, and growth. They are the 3 things.
Okay.
So we've got to find great people, we've got to keep them, and then we've got to find enough clients for them to see.
Okay.
Very broadly, they are my... Everything else is fine. You can take care of it. But I need to have enough people that want to work at Rebound so that whenever somebody leaves or a role comes up, we can replace pretty quickly. We recruit incredibly well, so we don't want to lose people. So we have to find ways that we can help people tick as many boxes as we possibly can in terms of fulfillment at work. And then we have got a plan. We've got a 3-year plan. We've got a 12-month plan. We've got all the plans.
90-day plan.
Many plans. And I know what my role in doing those things are. And at the moment, it's more like just building and nurturing relationships and partnerships that we've got with referrers. If I can do those things well, the rest will... There's always fires. There's always stuff to do, but that is my job. That is 90% of my job.
So let's go back to February 2020. So pre-COVID.
Really?
Very specific.
We have to.
Yeah, we do.
It's been removed.
We do.
That doesn't exist anymore.
No. Okay, January 2020. A wonderful time.
So much better. Yeah.
Wonderful time.
Happy days.
What would you say your main goals of being director then were, or main roles as director were then? So how have they changed?
I was still seeing clients at that point. I was probably doing 2 days a week of client-facing work. So there was that. I think I was still mentoring, maybe not everybody at that stage, but our more senior people, and marketing and admin and trying to write systems and trying to learn how to do Google ads and Facebook ads. Many more things.
More things, but lots of smaller tasks.
Correct.
That you have now delegated?
Some things have been delegated. Some things
Or outsourced.
outsourced.
Yeah.
Systemized. It just
Systemized.
happened.
Or just finished. Like you did it, like you wrote the system.
Thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Meredith, where do you see your role now as director of a younger, growing team?
Well, every time you say the word director, I flinch a little bit because I actually
sorry.
don't think of myself. No.
What do you call yourself? Yeah, what are you? Yeah.
The captain.
Owner and senior
captain of
exercise
your own
physiologist.
Senior exercise? Come on.
Yeah, because I still see clients a lot. Like
Yeah, okay.
I still do probably 0.6 client work. So I enjoy working with persistent pain and with eating disorders. And just segue. We have a therapy dog at our clinic, and she's my dog. Yeah. So I'm the handler.
We tried to get a therapy dog. How did that go, Andrew?
She dug up the garden.
Yeah.
What sort of a dog, Meredith?
She is a multi shit poo. She's a multi Shih Tzu
don't know
poodle
what that is.
smush. So like a little black fluffy thing. She's like 5 kilos.
Right.
So yeah. So like multi Shih Tzu poodle crossed together.
Is she good at being a therapy dog?
She's very good at. On Thursday, which is when she was last in the clinic, she jumped up on my desk and ate my lunch.
Oh.
I was not a very happy dog
Yeah.
mum. But yeah, she is. Thursdays is which is dog day, is our busiest day in the clinic. I am back to back the whole day because we have a lot of clients where the dog is the reason they come in. So yeah, so she is very good. She loves scritches. She is so excited to see everyone. She always knows who needs a bit of extra attention. One of my clients turned up to group class 3 weeks after a knee replacement. I was like, why are you here? He just turned up. Like, sit in this chair. Because his wife comes to group class as well. And I was like, sit down. But we did some like hanging. So like put his leg up on the foot up on another chair and just hung his leg. And Macduff jumped up on the chair and put her little head on his leg.
Oh.
Like knew that like his leg was sore. And I'm like, that's very cute. But it took a long time to straighten that leg. So I should have just let her jump on him, I think, and it would have just solved a lot of problems.
Amazing.
But yeah, so she is quite good at being a therapy dog. So yeah, she comes 1 day a week. But yeah, so like I have a whole day of that. So I still see quite a bit. So, and because of that, I see a lot of our trauma clients and a lot of mental health concerns, a lot of people who are neurodivergent. Like, so I see a lot of the really full on stuff because I do have a very young staff list. But now my first hire is seeing a lot more of those things, which is good. Yeah, so my role is still being an EP. I don't think I ever want to not be an on the floor EP. I actually just really love it. I really love the job. Hate the paperwork. Paperwork can just get stuff, but love the job. But I am trying to really see it more as the owner position, I suppose, of driving it forward and delegating more and thinking not just about what's in front of me and the bigger picture and that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Andrew, do you find yourself in a similar position to Meredith? Of like not wanting to stop seeing clients or trying to split your time and not sure where your time should be going? Not that you don't know where your time's going, but like having to go, there's this bigger picture stuff that you felt like you needed to start doing, but you were doing other things.
Yeah, I mean, I just before the COVID,
The COVID.
Part of it was kind of forced on me. I had my first child. I was going to say my first son. I had my first child, and then it was like, right, you are allowed to go to work. You must then be home at this time and then do the things. And so the constraints got applied. It wasn't like it was before where you could just start at 5 and finish it whenever. It was like, no, like now there are other responsibilities. And so that constraint kind of thinking made me go, okay, shit, if this thing is going to get to where I want it to get to, I'm going to have to make some compromises along the way. Yeah. So it wasn't that was kind of forced on me is not the right word, but like I had to choose.
Stage of life came along.
Yeah.
Yeah. And made that change.
Yeah.
And then did you run into, I imagine you ran into a lot of speed bumps along the way of like trying to do that then. Does any stand out of like particular speed bumps?
Look, I mean, I don't know about you, Meredith, but I've had some long-term clients that I've been seeing for, I don't know, years and years and years, who were quite resistant to me. Well, I think it was mutual. They were resistant to me like transitioning their care to a different practitioner. Also, I had some guilt and was like, oh, geez, I'm really sorry. So I'll just hang on to you for a little while longer. But then there was a day, and I remember it. I remember the client that I was seeing, Mark was his name. And I was there in his session thinking about spreadsheets. I was thinking about a specific spreadsheet, which was a financial thing. And it was like a light switch. It was just like, I can't do this anymore.
You're not here anymore.
I'm not here anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
he's not getting
somewhere
the
else.
attention he deserves for that session.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not being a good EP anymore because I'm thinking about spreadsheets when I should be thinking about a client. And I was probably down to about 2 days. And then that was the like, okay, I'm not going to be good at this anymore because my thoughts are elsewhere.
Interesting. I wonder if that will happen for you, Meredith.
It has to a point. I have certainly restructured how I run my week to combat that, is the point that I'm at. So last year I started, about a year ago, actually, May. Last year I started having Wednesday mornings off, and I have been informed diligently by my staff that I have definitely unwound since I started doing that. And now I have Monday mornings is paperwork / business time, and Wednesday afternoons is paperwork / business time. And the theory is that I'm fresh because I've just had a weekend off or I've just had a morning off. And so I will actually sit down and do all of the things that I need to do and have some more brain thinking time for those bigger things and stuff like that. Because during COVID, one of the things that did happen is because nothing else was happening, like I couldn't go do any of my normal extracurricular activities, the hours bled. They became very long days. And I had to claw that back because I was like, why am I sad all the time? And stressed all the time. I was like, oh my God, I'm not literally doing anything that brings me joy. Holy shit. That was a light that went on. And what that was that Ash, my first hire, came to me and said, I am going to go to South Korea. I would like some time off. I went in April. That's where I went. Because this was this brain chunk moment that I had of it just went click. Because I went, oh my God, you have my life. You get to work part-time. You have a lovely boss.
Yeah.
She plays in the state level of netball here in South Australia. So we work around her training schedule and her game schedule. She was doing none of the out of hours work at the clinic. I was doing all of it. And now she was getting to go off on this holiday. And I was like, holy crap, you have my life. That is not why I hired someone. And so that was my big light bulb to then start clawing back some time and moved clients around and clients that had been in that one spot for years. And I was like, oh, you're going to be so grumpy that I'm moving you from a Thursday. But if I don't move you, I can't get home in time to drop the dog off to go out to my extracurricular activity, which brings me a lot of joy. You have to move.
And if you don't have joy at work, then like you're not going to be able to actually do good work.
I'm just a grumpy bitch. Yeah, I think that was what was seeping into my sessions, is that honestly, I don't think I was as nice to be around as I would like to be for my clients. And that made me really sad and really annoyed at myself that I hadn't sorted out. So I kind of sorted that bit first. But yeah, one day probably, but I'll always need to do one day because I need to handle the dog. So I've created, I'll at least be 0.2 for forever now, minimum.
Until you get to the point where the dog responds better to Ash than it does to you.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh my God, they take my own dog from me.
Yeah, I'll have to
Not
send
even the
her
best
on a
with my own
course.
dog.
Yes, I'll have to send her on a therapy dog course because, of course, you train the person, you don't train the dog really how to do that. So I'll have to delegate.
I don't know what you're talking about there.
No, I think we should.
Entirely the
I
dog.
think we should go down the
Entirely
Yes.
the dog.
So it's definitely the person, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
What
user
happened?
error.
what happened? And we were begging for a therapy dog. And by I mean the staff and Andrew's kids were begging for a therapy dog. And we got one. Her name is Luna. She's a golden lab.
She's a psychopath and cannot be brought into anywhere near other humans. So, so it is entirely the dog, and it is
not because she's upset or angry. It's because she is full of love.
There is not a bad bone in her body. She is just excitement and enthusiasm just squished into 23 kilos.
Yeah, too big for that much excitement. That's the problem, is that she can be in the office and she can be climbing on you and be licking your face without having even jumped because she's that big. And then some people go, oh, I guess it's happening. Oh, no, I've been swallowed by the dog.
I am one with the dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen Luna at the clinic in, I don't know, maybe 8 months, 12 months, maybe. I don't know what she's doing. I think she's just caged up at home.
No, she's digging up the garden is what she's...
Did you ever get up at the ESSA conference last year? Andrew spoke on something.
I'm glad that was a very memorable experience.
Yeah. Really see
client experience.
Sorry, it was spoke on client experience as well. Right. And I knew that. I was there. And he started with an anecdote, a little parable, if you will, about Luna and the dog trainers that just had an amazing client experience, blah, 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 blah. Did you end up going to them and doing stuff?
Yeah, we did.
Right.
That was great.
How'd it go?
Great. Luna had a great time.
Oh, cool.
Did you
have a great time? I was standing awkwardly.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And was the dog/humans trained?
They were better trained than... Stupid dog. Yes. No. It was good. It was good. I would do it again.
So there you go. There's a lesson. So you could have great client experience with no outcomes, and the person still think they had a really good time and go, yeah, it was great. And even if they didn't get better. And you would go back, and I imagine you would recommend them as well.
I would recommend them.
Even though the dog is still a lunatic.
What does that teach you?
What does that teach you about healthcare? That's the lesson. You can have great client experience and provide zero clinical outcome. No, this is bad.
Yeah. You grads, don't just ignore that. That last 30
don't do that.
Don't do that.
No, do something.
Yeah. Also, don't be like an asshole to your clients, though.
Yeah, don't do that.
Also, don't do that.
Well, Meredith, when we were messaging, you said one of the dot points we said we could talk about is not being a dick as an Ex Phys. I was like, I don't even know what you mean, but I want to know what you mean by that. So what topic are you even talking about when you're talking about being a dick as an EP?
Don't be a dick. I suppose really it falls to me. I suppose a big part of that is the subset of don't be a judgmental dick. Specifically, I think it's very easy for us as health professionals to be up on a very high horse about what we do and what we believe in, and to put a real morality around healthcare and participating in health behaviours. I had a student a few years ago who had his own lived experience of a chronic condition and running his body very much like a machine, and that worked for him to handle his chronic condition. He could not see an alternative. He could only see that that was the way to go, and that everything was the client's own responsibility. And he said to me at one point, I just don't understand why they do this to themselves. How can they do this to themselves? I was like, you just need to take a little step back there, sunshine. Let's take a beat. Wow. So it's that sort of stuff, because we get into healthcare often because we want to help people, but also often because health or fitness or sport or, nourishing food or whatever it is happens to be a very high value for us, which often means that we've had it, often, not always, means that we've had a privilege of being exposed to those things. that is not necessarily a privilege or a value that our clients hold.
Mm.
Whether that's because they're just not that interested, or whether it's because they're a single parent with 3 kids, one of whom has a disability, and they're trying to work 2 jobs and they just do not have the freaking brain space to make it a priority. And so having that sense of compassion and just taking a step back to examine our own privileges and our own biases, and maybe understanding that that's not the be all and end all of everything in the whole world.
Yeah.
And projecting that onto our clients in a really negative, judgy, it's all your fault. You should have done this. Why didn't you do your exercises?
Yeah.
It's that, but it's the vibe of that.
It is. And that's a great question, right? Like whenever someone goes like, oh, if they just did their exercises that I gave them, it's like, well, whose fault is it?
Yeah, the health professionals. The exercises were not appropriate for the
Exactly.
person in that
Yeah.
point in time.
Or like they were not like actually motivated to do them. And you gave them something that they didn't actually care about. So why how is it their fault? It's like
not their fault. No.
they don't care about your prescription until you like it's their prescription, until it's something that they want to do. And I feel like I don't want to make this a social media conversation, but it's very like red, black and white / like green tick, red cross kind of world now. And you definitely get that a lot with health professionals, that people go, well, this is the way that you have to do things. And this is the way that works. And, but even more than this is the way that works, there's so much, these things don't work. It's like, and this doesn't work, and this doesn't work, and there's no research for this, and this doesn't work. And it's like, whoa. It's like, slow down. It's like, slow the hell down. You need to just calm down a little bit and take away all of these ticks and crosses and these blacks and whites and color in a little more gray, a little bit more like mix the red and green together, and understand that there's a person in front of you and their preferences and their experience is not yours. So when you're talking about like, oh, the bias of people all came from their sport, or they all came from their injury, or their exercise, which every EP has. Every EP's bio on every website is, oh, I grew up very passionate about the exercise because I played soccer for the Matildas. I don't know, something very relevant. They're playing tonight. Oh,
They just played here the other night.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Fuck, they were lucky.
Draw. Yeah.
Jesus, they were very lucky it was a draw. Oh my God.
Yes.
Anyway.
I was going to date this podcast.
But the people then, you get a lot of people who then goes like, well, this is how it is then, because this is how I rehabbed my injury, or this is how my EP or my physio did it, / this is how I trained. Therefore, that's the thing that works. Therefore, that's the thing that my clients have to do.
Yeah, and anything that is not that is wrong.
Yeah.
Or morally not as good.
Yeah.
Like if you're not doing this, then this. I hear on quite a few, not this podcast, but other EP podcasts, when not going to name any, it's okay, but when I've heard them say the phrase a lot of the time, because as EPs, we should be going to the gym every day. And if you're not, you really should be questioning yourself about that. And I'm like, that is a big call.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a really big call to make. What if, like you just talked about, Andrew, like, like when you had a newborn child, like, were you freaking going to the gym 5 days a week? Maybe.
I would have got in a lot of trouble if I was going to the gym.
Right, because your life circumstances changed and you had a tiny human who was dependent on you. Right? Or what if you have an injury? Or what if you have endometriosis? Or what if you're recovering from an eating disorder? Or what if your parents are sick and you need to look after them? Like just anything. And that real blanket judgment of our own profession and other professions, I think really feeds that judgment on the clients. It's just not possible for everyone to do that. And to expect that is you are setting people up to fail, and you are driving only external motivations, and it's guilt and shame are the motivators. And I literally was having a chat with a client about this today because she was caught up in an F45 cycle, and she is recovering from an eating disorder now. And this is the stuff that we were talking about. And she's like, I didn't come here for a little while and now I feel guilt and shame. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't come because you did a uni course for 6 weeks. Like, you had other shit going on, man. It's okay. But she had.
How was a uni course?
Yeah, how was a uni course? Oh my God. Like, but it was all the guilt and shame that come from that previous experience that she'd had.
Yeah.
And I think as EPs, we need to be really, really careful that we are not perpetuating that sort of challenging, toxic gym culture stuff. Because for some people that works really well, and if it floats your boat to get screamed at 6 a.m. and you really love it, I love that for you. That is amazing. For certainly the vast majority of people that we see here, and I imagine a vast majority of people that you guys see, that is highly inappropriate to be doing that. And it really worries me when people are teaching students that that's appropriate, when they're teaching to other EPs, and when they're perpetuating that onto their clients. So yeah, don't be a dick is my motto.
Meredith, that is a beautiful don't be a dick rant to finish. I don't want to say any more after that, because that was just a beautiful don't be a dick rant. I think you wrapped it up beautifully. Thank you so much for coming on and ranting and being a part of the Honest EP podcast.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was an honor.
Honors all around.
Honors all around.
And the Bilpin cider was beautiful. So thank you very much.